to our first week of Term 3. I am here in our new setup for PCY, our new youth studio, and I'm super excited to jump into this term for our first live stream. I hope everyone's settling back into school this term. I know it was your first week for most of you, so leave us a comment below and let us know how your week was, maybe give it a rating out of 10. But yeah, we're super excited to jump into this term. If you didn't watch our video from last week, basically our term looks a little bit different than last term. So we're going to be doing a live stream every week, which is awesome. And then every second week we'll be jumping onto Zoom for our small groups. So if you're not involved in a small group yet and you would like to be, please feel free to leave us a comment below or send us a message, and we'll get you in touch with the right leader for that. So this term, our theme is on perspective. So we're going to be talking about how can we align our thoughts and choose to focus on God this term. So for our first week, for our first message, we have the amazing Jess coming to speak to us about a really awesome and relevant topic. So tune in, listen up, and get ready for an awesome message from her.
Hi everybody, for those that haven't met me yet or don't know me, I'm Jess. I'm one of the youth leaders here at Peninsula City Church, and tonight I'm actually here to talk to you about the topic of jealousy and what that means for us in our lives and what it does to us, and actually why God tells us not to do it. So I'm here tonight, we're going to talk about jealousy and actually why it's a sin and why God tells us that it's not good for us to do in our lives. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting topic because it's one that's not talked about a lot. I know often in churches they can put particular sins up on pedestals, and we always hear about particular ones and how we shouldn't do that, and that's really, really bad for us, and that this sin's really bad and we shouldn't do this. But I just feel like we don't often talk about jealousy, but it's such a big one. And it's a really big one because it has such a really large effect on our lives. And I feel like it's one that we can all relate to, whether we realise it or not. It's a really subtle and discreet sin that can just slip in so many different situations in our lives. So to start off with, I wanted to kind of talk about why jealousy is a sin, because I think often in our world now, we talk about sins being stuff that affects other people. So, we say we don't want to lie, we don't want to cheat, we don't want to steal, we don't want to hurt other people. And that's sort of the world standard of what is good versus bad. Is it going to affect someone else? But I think the difference is that God also doesn't want us to do things that affect ourselves. Jealousy is one of those things that really affects you internally, and that's why He doesn't want you to do it. So God gives us instructions in the Bible, so many different ones. If you guys have read any parts of it, you'll know that there's lots of things that He tells us to do. And He never tells us not to do something because He wants to harm us, because He wants to stop us from having fun, and because He wants us to stop living our life in what would be the best way for us. He actually tells us what we should and shouldn't do out of love, because He wants us to live our best life. He wants the best for us, and He wants us to live our fullest and just most wonderful and successful lives, whatever that may look like. And He really wants us to live life in full. So the reason that He doesn't want us to be jealous is because it has such an effect on us internally. So what it does is when we are jealous of someone else or something else, what we're really saying is that I don't feel good enough, or I'm not good enough. The life that God's given me, the body that God's given me, the talents, the gifts that God's given me aren't good enough, and I start to feel incomplete and not worthy. And so being jealous of someone else or something else ends up robbing us of joy, and it ends up robbing us of freedom and actually being able to focus on what God wants us to do in our lives. When we stop and we focus on those things, we start to really focus on ourselves, and being jealous leads to anxiety and insecurities, and it really stops you from focusing on anything else around you. I don't know if you guys have ever felt at any point in your life or at school where you've just seen this other person and you're like, man, like, they're great at everything. I wish I was them. And then you spend the rest of the day thinking about yourself. You're like, oh, am I wearing the right thing? Oh, did I do well enough on that test? Oh, am I funny enough? Oh, do I have enough friends? They have so many friends. Oh, look how many Instagram followers that person has. And we stop focusing on everything else in the world around us, and we miss out on so many wonderful things. I know for me personally, when I was your age, I grew up with an older sister who I felt like was perfect at everything. She is amazing. She's a wonderful person and she's so very talented at so many things that are not my personal gifting. And in high school, I was in year 10 and we both got cast in the school musical. And it was meant to be the most fun experience, and it was, you know, being in school musicals is a great thing. But everyone kept coming up to me and saying, "Oh, your sister is amazing. Oh my gosh, your sister, have you heard her sing? Oh, your sister, she is so good and she's so talented." And I spent, honestly, the rest of the show just feeling so anxious and insecure about myself because I felt this real jealousy towards her. And I was starting to get really envious, and I was like, well, God, why is she better than me? And why does everyone else think she's better than me? And why am I less complete or less whole than she is? Which is so not true. They are all lies from the devil, and they're all lies that try to get in and seep into our life, which changes things. And that's why God asks us not to be jealous, because it seeps in and it changes our perspective on things. It changes how we think and how we feel, and it changes our focus. When we're jealous of someone else, not only does it make us feel bad and insecure, but it also causes divide in the relationship. So it causes disunity. You know, me and my sister, or me and other friends would have been so close and we would have had so much fun together. But because I was spending my whole time just feeling this real envy and jealousy, I didn't want the best for them. I actually honestly wanted them to not do well, which is a really awful feeling to think about. And that all stemmed from jealousy, and it all stemmed from envy. And it's just, yeah, it's not a good place to be. And I think so often we don't realise when it's happening, and we only realise once it's gotten really bad. When we're jealous, we start to focus so much on ourselves, and we just really forget to focus on all the amazing things God's doing, and all the great gifts that He's given you, and all the purposes that He's given you in your life. So there are so many different passages in the Bible where God's actually mentioned this. There's lots of parables and there's lots of stories, and we're actually going to go through them later tonight in our small groups on Zoom. So you get to really dive into them with your leaders, and I'm really hoping you guys can get some of those, some things out of them. But what I really wanted to go through now is that we've talked about jealousy. We know what it is and we know why it's bad, but how can I fix it? I think we might go, well, yeah, Jess, that's great for you to tell me not to do it, but actually, how do I change that, and how do I fix that in my life? And I think that's the best thing, is that God gives us the answers. He always gives us a way out of sin. He always gives us a way out of temptation, and He always gives us the freedom that we need. When Jesus died for us on the cross, not only did He die for us and our sins, but He died for all of your unhealthy desires. He died for all of those jealous temptations and all those other things that you might not think of. And you can get rid of them and you can give them over to Him, which is amazing. So my 2 tips for overcoming jealousy, because it is so hard, is that when you read the Bible, you can actually look for ways to do that. So I'm just going to read one passage. You guys know the fruits of the Spirit. You've probably heard this one before. It's a pretty classic one. But it says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control." And I love that passage because that's so of God. But those things are what He wants for us, and it's actually those things that we can choose that will help us stop letting jealousy take control of our life. So the opposite of being jealous is actually to be kind, and one of the fruits of the Spirit is kindness. So if there's a person, I don't know if there is in your life, but there's someone that you're just like, oh, why do they get everything? Why are they so good, and why are they so talented? And you start to feel like there's a real barrier between you and them being friends, and you actually almost start to want bad things for them, because you're sitting there just getting so sick of the fact that they're getting everything that they want, that you think, in your perspective. It's probably not actually true, but in your mind, that's how you're feeling. I challenge you to be kind to them and actually go out of your way to compliment them or talk to them, or you could give them something or write them a letter, or even if it's just a simple message to be like, hey, I just wanted to see how you're going, and I think you're a really great person. And I really challenge you to do that for the people that you feel like you don't want to. I think it's so easy to do it to our friends, but to people we're feeling jealous of, the last thing that we feel like doing is complimenting them and being kind. But there's so much power in going the opposite way to your emotions. And I think that sometimes our emotions can lie to us, and sometimes our humanness wants to stay jealous, and we want to stay angry and envious, but there's power in actually choosing what God wants for you. For those people that you are feeling jealous of, I really, really encourage you, be kind to them, and do some real practical act of kindness that's there to bless them, even if you don't feel like it, especially if you don't feel like it, that's when you should be doing it. And my other tip, well not tip, but suggestion would be to speak it out into the light. So if you are feeling jealous of someone, either go up to them, chat to them and sit down and say, hey, I just wanted to chat to you. I just feel so jealous of you. You know, this is what I'm seeing in your life, and this is what I feel like I'm missing in my life. And I promise you that physically speaking that out removes the power of it. So when we're sitting here internally, we're feeling all these emotions, but we're not actually speaking them out, we give them power and we give them control. But if we go up to that person and we say, hey, I'm actually just feeling really jealous of you recently. I noticed that you did the best in the class on the last test, and you got the lead in the school musical, and you always get picked first for the PE games. And I'm just starting to feel a little bit insecure about that. I guarantee that not only you will release that jealousy of the power it has, but probably that person will be so shocked and they'll go, no, that's not even true. That's all your perspective and it's wrong. And this is actually how I'm feeling. Actually, I'm feeling insecure about this. And you'll find that there's so much unity from that communication that you have. And as we said, jealousy really causes disunity and it causes divide, but actually just speaking to that person and just coming together can override that, and you can bring that relationship back together. If it's someone who, you know what, that is not your thing, you don't feel comfortable talking to them, I'd encourage you to talk to a friend or a parent or one of your youth leaders that you trust and just tell them and say, hey, like, I'm really struggling, or, you know what, yeah, that is for me, I'm feeling really jealous. I just encourage you to talk to them about it and to tell them and to speak that out and to just take away its power, and so that you're not sitting there feeling jealous all the time. I don't know if this is relevant for you guys, but I feel like so often we just don't realize that these things are having such an effect on us and on our lives and on our relationships and on our mood, and they cause anxiety until they're really extreme, or until it's like getting so bad that you're starting to feel really, really bad about yourself and you're just taking your eyes completely off God. I just really challenge you over the next week to think about the people in your life that you're jealous of, or think about the areas where you're feeling incomplete or not satisfied. And I encourage you to press into the why, to be kind to those people, and to speak those emotions out into the light with someone that you trust. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing some of you on Zoom later.
Well, thanks so much, Jess, for an awesome message tonight. What really stood out to me was how she talked about how we can choose kindness. Instead of feeling jealous and envious of others, we can choose those fruits of the Spirit that God gives us. So feel free to leave a message below or a comment below and let us know what stood out to you in her message. But otherwise, we'll jump into our Zoom groups now. So you should have received a link from your leader. But if not, feel free to send us a message and we'll make sure you jump into one of our groups. And otherwise, we'll see you next week. Bye.